Hello and good morning, everyone. Welcome to Being Civil in Minnesota. My name is Meghan Maes, and I am a lawyer in the state of Minnesota. I welcome everybody here on Saturdays at 10 to talk about the legal court system, issues that are impacting families, and resources to help navigate what can be a very complicated and stressful process. This does not make me your lawyer. Good morning. This does not make me your lawyer, and I'm not going to be giving you legal advice today. We have a group on Facebook called Being Civil in Minnesota. You can ask questions there anonymously. I come here every Saturday and I try to answer those questions by providing resources. If you have questions during today, go ahead and pop it in the comments, or just pop in the comments to say hello. I'm not always able to see who logs on, but I do see that people are on, so good morning. So today's question came from a member, and the member asked, has anyone been asked to participate in co-parenting therapy, and what are experiences like? So first of all, co-parenting therapy, what is it? Now, I do need to tell you I am not a mental health professional, and I welcome anyone on here who is a mental health professional that would have some more insight. I only necessarily see it from my clients' perspectives on the cases that I'm working on, and every family is different, so results will obviously vary. In theory, co-parenting therapy is intended to give parents who are separating or divorcing kind of tools to help improve their relationship, maybe give them skills on how to co-parent. It's not a place to get, validation that the other parent is terrible or things of that nature. Most providers are going to be licensed and have to go through ongoing education to help them, even in the most high conflict of cases, try to help parents resolve their issues. Now, therapy is sort of a confidential and voluntary process, meaning the therapist would not be, in a couple setting, would be there to support the goals of the couple, and not always will those goals meet. So one thing that they can do is make sure that the parents are on the same page. When couples are thinking about separating, that is a really good time to implement the services of a qualified mental health professional. There may not be something so insurmountable that the couple can't get past it, but it may need somebody who has the language and the skills and the tools to help that couple make that decision. So there are things that, and I'm sure this is not the technical term, but uncoupling therapy. Thinking through the logistics about how are you going to co-parent your kids? How are you going to pick activities? What daycare are they going to go to? So the co-parenting therapy can help identify goals. And in identifying those goals, they can help sort of reduce the conflict and promote cooperative decision-making and approaches, and sort of enhance healthy relationships for kiddos. I should caveat this by saying, the more voluntary the parents enter the process, the more effort and desire for change you'll see. When parents get court ordered to do something, it's less of a voluntary decision, and it can depend on the participation of the parties. Oh, good morning. I have a question. On average, how long have you seen clients participate in co-parenting theory? Is it ongoing for weeks or months or years? How conflicty is your case? If you guys can't agree on, whether or not Susie should play the trombone versus the flute or the tuba, you're going to have a lot longer road if you can't implement those tools to help you guys sort of co-parent. Co-parenting therapy, again, not a mental health professional. In my experience, I've seen parties participate it. I imagine from a provider perspective that they can, once they build a rapport, right? It takes time to build a rapport with a mental health professional, especially if somebody is not used to sharing their feelings or wanting to be vulnerable. And rapport building can take time. That can take many sessions. And how often you have the sessions is going to determine how quickly that rapport can build. If you're still in co-parenting therapy after years, it might not be that the parties don't have the skills and tools to co-parent. They just may not be able to resolve decisions together. And a therapist is not necessarily going to go in and be the tiebreaker and be like, sorry, Timmy wins this time. You're gonna have to let him keep that subscription to NASCAR. I don't know. I'm just kidding. I'm making up something silly. But if you are needing more of that sort of decision making without running back to court, there are some things that can help with that. I've got a few ideas listed down, but hopefully that answers your question. Another thing that it can help with is identifying ways to healthy communicate and areas of misunderstanding. Texts and emojis are what a convenient way to communicate, but oftentimes can get misunderstood or misconstrued. And so determining the right way to communicate for you and your other co-parent, and making sure that it's kid-focused, structured, and that it gives you and the co-parent a place where you can sort of have a foundation to sort of grow together into what that new co-parenting relationship looks like now that you're not together. Last week I did talk a lot about individuals who exhibit narcissistic tendencies, being very inflexible or not being able to objectively observe reality, not necessarily focused on what is best for the kids, but about sort of the power and control. And that can make it really hard to co-parent, and I talked a little bit about what parallel parenting is. So if you have questions about that, I would say go back to last week's episode. There's some good information on there. One other pro-con sort of thing to be aware of is cost and time. If one of the other parents is resistant to the process, it can really take away from sort of the provider's ability to try to get to the bottom of what's going on. It's not going to always work. Co-parenting therapy, there is a chance that the things that led to the demise of the relationship or inability to co-parent and the need to want to seek sort of a neutral person may continue to be there, but it can still be a great resource for you on how to manage the parallel parenting or co-parenting that you may need to do for the rest of your children's lives. So, okay, so if a court orders co-parenting therapy, great. If you have concerns about, okay, we've tried mediation, everything I say is dumb, I'm dealing with somebody with N-word tendencies, I'm going to go in with, right, maybe they'll listen to a therapist, but sometimes that may not work. So how do you get to figure out those co-parenting rules and boundary settings if that doesn't work? One is you can try mediation, which is an alternative dispute resolution outside of the court process. It is voluntary, and the mediator is neutral, meaning they're not going to be on either one side, but that they can help identify barriers and eliminate roadblocks to coming to resolution. Even with somebody who has narcissistic tendencies, I talked last week a little bit about how it can be hard because they're so charming. They say all the right things. They can do all the good behaviors in front of court. But they don't really want to listen to rules. And one strategy that I have seen be successful is, and I know this is going to sound crazy, but if you're in a mediation and they say, I want this parenting time schedule. Okay. Oftentimes it's not about the schedule. It's not about the transporting. It's about the when. And then once that's in a court order and they refuse to follow through with it, that is when you can start to get the court's assistance in starting to see sort of the unreasonable behaviors where even when they get what they want, they're still going to find ways to use that to make life difficult. And that can be a really, really hard thing to experience as the parent who's dealing with it. But very oftentimes patience and letting the court observe that unreasonable behavior is the way to get a court to really understand, like, oh, you said you wanted to do this and then you don't even show up. So that is going to be some real red flags and can be a real positive for you. Although when you're dealing with somebody like that, it can be incredibly hard to be patient. And I know it, and it's not fun. That's just one strategy. If co-parenting isn't really working out well, there's lots of great support groups out there. Make sure that you find one that meets with your goals and needs. There's a lot of people out there that will just set up a support group, and you want to make sure that the group is focused and aligned with what your goals are for it, and that the people who are running the group have some background or some experience so that they can help sort of steer the conversation. Working with an advocate at a abuse or sexual assault agency center, they will often have groups, mostly support groups for people who are experiencing abuse, but in many times a lot of those individuals are experiencing that with a individual that they may have a child with. So you can contact a lawyer. I do. So when I worked at legal services for 10 years, we were only able to take the highest conflict cases and the cases with the highest lethality concerns. And a case becomes high lethality after a study was done, and they identified a bunch of behaviors that could increase the chances of one or both of the individuals suffering a fatal injury. When you do identify those high conflict cases and you are dealing with those kind of individuals, as an attorney, it is one of the most hard conversations I will have over and over with my clients about what the process can do and what the process can't do. The court can issue the most perfect order in all the land, and it will say all the times, and it will have all the requirements, and everybody has to be respectful, and nobody says anything negative. But the issue is, how do we enforce those kinds of just be a good parent provisions? In the state of Minnesota, there's a statute, 518-157, that says that if parents can't agree on custody and parenting time, they are supposed to complete a co-parenting class. And those should be done more often. There are ones about bridging conflict and trauma, and things of that nature. Some of them are online, some of them are in person, and it will depend how much you get out of those classes, how much you put in. But at least it's a requirement, and it's something that can be done to get that information into the hands of both parents. There are co-parenting apps if you are able to communicate with your co-parent in a way that's healthy and respectful and not interfering with your day-to-day life, your work, or your own relationship with the children. It can be used for communication, sharing events, appointments. In my experience, a lot of the burden of putting that information falls on one parent, while the other parent has less access to that information, which can be frustrating. But one of the best interest factors the court is going to look at is the ability to encourage a relationship with the other parent. And so notifying the other parent of spring concert, if I get a slip of paper in my kid's backpack during my week of parenting time, I will screenshot it, get it to the other parent, because schools are not keeping track of who has what custody arrangement and what parenting time schedule. A lot of schools will have this stuff on the internet, and so if you would prefer to just provide the other parent with the internet where the information can be located, fine by me. But again, I'm not your judge or your lawyer. I just think it's reasonable. Last couple thoughts I had about co-parenting mediation, which absolutely can be a really good tool and resource. There are also private qualified neutrals. So I'm a qualified neutral, which means I can do mediation services and help parties kind of eliminate those barriers. There are also, if you can't reach an agreement, or if the court orders an agreement and you're concerned that one or both parties may not follow it, there are individuals that you can hire that can be far more responsive than having to go back to court every time so-and-so is 5 minutes late. And while to some people 5 minutes late is like no big deal, but when it's a pattern and sometimes can be intentional, it can really interfere with the other parent's schedule. Maybe they've got somewhere to be, or took off early from work to be there. And So there's a parenting time expediter, and that role is kind of limited to just issues about parenting time. The other resource or individual professional that you could hire is something called a parenting consultant. That role is far more broad, and it can be more helpful if you have things other than just so and so didn't return the kids and this is my parenting time schedule, so I would like extra time. So that's not all about just co-parenting therapy, because I think therapy in general, nobody's perfect, and therapy can be a really great outlet and resource, even if you think you have all of your poop in a group. There's always good insight and opinions out there, and keeping yourself on the right track and motivated and focused as to what your goals are and what's important to you. It can be a really supportive place. So that is today's topic. I hope you guys have an amazing Saturday. This is some gorgeous weather. I am staring at my garden out there that needs some tender love and care. So have a great rest of your Saturday. Please post questions on the group. Please invite people to the group. We are getting close to 275 members. We had 250 on the last episode. This is just such an incredible group, and it allows me to share my resources and my knowledge. So let me know if you've got questions for next week, or if not, I'll see you soon. Take care.